Hello there YouTube and welcome to an episode of Planetside 2 Tactics. I am your host, Storehamster, Swedish for Big Hamster, and in this series I try to give you some tactical tips and tricks to bear in mind while you play Planetside 2. The first tip is how we deal with enemies in cover, which might be difficult unless you know how to use your resources. Now the interesting part comes when I attempt to cross the alley as soon as I get out of this room. What about now? I noticed that I'm getting shot from the left, so I quickly get into cover relative to that position and peek out to see an enemy get into cover. I throw a grenade to flush him out and just wait for him to peek his head out, and when he does, I take him down. You need to use grenades to efficiently deal with cover. Don't just spam them into empty rooms, keep them for when you need them. The second tip is about flanking, which is an integral part of tactics in Planetside 2, especially when you're in an armored vehicle as I am here. As I approach this base, I notice that we have infantry assaulting it on the front lines, so my first thought is to simply head straight on in, add my firepower to theirs. I should take a cue from this Sunderer immediately, backing off, because the enemy has the high ground, they have the advantage of cover, and I have headlights during nighttime, so they can see me perfectly. I pick off a quick kill, but then decide to flank right, because there's no way that I can do any good if I head straight up the front. Now, a flanking maneuver differs from a surprise attack in that you want the enemies to see you coming when you flank. A flanking maneuver is not there primarily to cause damage, it is there to get the enemies to divert attention towards your flank and away from the front lines where the real push is happening. And here I try to run over an infiltrator. I fail. So, when you flank, move in short bursts and stop and make some noise like I'm doing here. I'm a lousy shot, I should probably be able to pick up a few kills here, but I'm too bad. Still, it doesn't matter. They know that I'm here, and they are starting to adapt to my presence by sending heavy assaulters with rocket launchers after me. Also a few maxes, in fact. And it's always better to have maxes firing on your armored hide than on your squishy comrades. When you feel that you've made enough noise, you're free to push up, as I do here. The goal is to completely envelop them and come up behind them, so that they will need to react and believe you to be a bigger threat than you really are. And what better way to accomplish that goal than finding their Sunderer and starting to shoot at it. The lightning's shells may be more for show than actual efficiency, since they create these big fireballs in rapid succession. They don't do much damage individually, but they do divert a lot of attention and make you appear a more dangerous target than you really are. So now, I've got their full attention, which is very visible on my life bar in the top right. So I try to back off. My work here is done and I want to save my tank. Still, I get stuck on the terrain, pick off a heavy assaulter attacking me, but now it's time to abandon the tank. Since I'm playing the engineer class, I feel that I have a trick up my sleeve to continue to support this flank. So I simply find whatever position is available on this flank and deploy my turret. I will use this turret to provide cover fire on that ridge and on the roof to keep enemies pinned as much as possible while the infantry advance. We eventually take this base, since the enemies become spread too thin, and we envelop them from the front line and this flank. So always try to flank whenever possible if you have the opportunity. This third point is related to the first. When you're playing a main battle tank, speed is not really your primary purpose. You are a chess piece that is to work in concert with the other chess pieces, infantry and air support. When playing a tank, it is important that you stay in formation with your infantry. Move up no further than they are. Don't lag behind, and simply stay in formation and support them. Your role is to provide a deterrent from enemy infantry attacks, provide defense against hardened targets such as stationary turrets and other vehicles. By staying together with your infantry, you gain their support, as I will receive soon in the form of repairs. They also aid you by deterring enemy tanks. Together you are much more efficient than if you were working on your own infantry and armor. And this might take a while, since you are not the one pushing up. There are times when an entire armor column need to push up, but never a lone tank, which I see plenty of tank drivers do. They feel invulnerable, impatient, and they push up. The infantry is moving up, so I move. This is the core of winning any battle. It's based on knowing your map and knowing your speed and knowing where the enemy is going. I spot an enemy lightning tank, and I happen to know that if I cut across the terrain to my left, I will be able to come up behind him. And even if he was not already engaged by friendly forces, I would come up behind him and quickly annihilate him. Right now he gets bogged down because he didn't expect the resistance. Which leads me to point 5, know your limits. This is also essential, especially when you're in a vehicle and feel very powerful. Here I'm moving with my infantry on a flank, supporting them, trying to battle this enemy lightning. I managed to take out the lightning with the aid of surrounding infantry. As we have seen twice now, a lone tank is a very easy target. You are slow, you're big, and you don't have the area of effect firepower to deal with being surrounded, quite simply. So this is where I make a fatal mistake. I get bored and decide to escort the Sunderer to open up a new flank. I leave behind infantry support. We have no dominant air support, and I have no idea what's on the other side of this ridge that I'm cutting across right now. And of course, the worst that could happen does happen. I run into 2 tanks with 11 shells left. Not enough in a Prowler. Perhaps in a Vanguard or Mag Rider, but not in a Prowler. I should have pulled back immediately, but I decided to stay and fight to allow the Sunderer to escape, which I believe it does. But when I do decide to pull back, it's too late. I am about to die here, because death comes for me in the shape of a Reaver, his rocket pods, and a Vanguard tank. So, simply because I got greedy, got impatient, my enemy loses a tank, and I need to wait for the cooldown. So, always stay in formation. Don't push up without infantry support. That was it for this episode of Planetside 2 Tactics. I am Storehamster, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you again soon. YouTube, take care.